If you cannot control your own mind, something else will. And whatever controls you will destroy you slowly. This is the truth nobody wants to hear. This is the truth that ruins comfort. This is the truth that exposes weakness. Right now, at this exact moment, either you are in control of your thoughts, your habits, your impulses, or you are being controlled by them. There is no middle ground. If your brain controls you, you're fucked. Not emotionally, not metaphorically, literally fucked. Because a mind without discipline becomes a prison. And most people are inmates without realizing it. They wake up tired, distracted, emotional, and they think that's normal. It's not. It's weakness. And weakness spreads fast when it's left unchecked. You don't lose your life in one big mistake. You lose it in small moments where you let your mind run free. One skipped workout, one excuse, one emotional reaction, one night of procrastination, one moment where comfort wins, and then another and another, until one day you look around and realize years are gone and nothing changed. That's what an undisciplined mind does. It lies to you in your own voice. It convinces you that you deserve rest when you need resistance. It convinces you that you're burnt out when you're just undisciplined. It convinces you that tomorrow is guaranteed, and tomorrow becomes never. This is why self-control is everything. Not motivation, not confidence. Control. Because motivation is emotional. Confidence is fragile. But control is power. If you control your mind, you control your actions. If you control your actions, you control your future. And if you don't, something else will. Your phone, your cravings, your emotions, your past, other people's opinions. You don't need a new plan. You need a stronger mind. You don't need more information. You need more self-control. You already know what to do. You just don't do it. And that gap between knowing and doing is where most people lose their lives. They collect advice. They watch videos. They save quotes. But when it's time to act, their mind negotiates. It asks how they feel. It asks if it's worth it. It asks if it can be done later. And every time you listen to that voice, you weaken yourself. Because control is a muscle. Use it or lose it. Every time you do the hard thing when you don't want to, you strengthen control. Every time you avoid discomfort, you weaken it. And the mind learns quickly. It learns what you tolerate. It learns how far it can push you. It learns whether you are serious or just talking. That's why discipline has to be ruthless. No negotiation. No debate. No waiting to feel ready. You act because it's required, not because it feels good. People think control is about being cold or emotionless. It's not. Control is about not letting emotions drive the car. You can feel tired and still train. You can feel scared and still move forward. You can feel unmotivated and still execute. That's control. Weak people obey feelings. Strong people command themselves. That's the difference. And the reason most people hate this truth is because it puts responsibility back where it belongs. On you. You can't blame your past. You can't blame your parents. You can't blame the system. Because the moment you accept that your mind is the problem, you also accept that it's the solution. And that terrifies people. Because it means there are no excuses left. Control requires sacrifice. It requires discomfort. It requires doing things you don't want to do. Over and over. Until your brain learns who's in charge. At first, it will resist. Hard. It will get loud. It will throw every excuse at you. Fatigue, stress, anxiety, boredom, doubt. That's normal. That's the mind fighting to stay in control. Most people give up here. Every moment of restraint is a brick in your foundation. And over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. This is why men who master themselves move differently. They don't rush. They don't panic. They don't react emotionally. They think clearly under pressure. Because they've trained their minds in chaos. They've practiced control when it was hard, when it hurt, when it was inconvenient. And that training carries over into everything. Work, relationships, money, health, presence. You can feel it when someone is controlled. They don't need to talk much. They don't need to prove anything. They are grounded, solid. And that presence comes from one thing. They don't let their mind run wild. They run it. This is the path. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. It's repetitive and uncomfortable and lonely at times. But it works. And it works every time. Because control compounds. Small acts of discipline stack into identity. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior shapes destiny. If you don't take control now, life will do it for you. Through failure, through regret, through consequences. And that lesson is much more painful. This is your warning. Decide who's in charge. You or your mind. Because only one can win. You don't lose control all at once. You leak it, little by little. You give it away every time you say, "I'll do it later." Every time you let your emotions decide your actions. Every time you choose comfort when discipline is required. Control doesn't disappear. It erodes. And by the time you notice, your life is already running on autopilot. You wake up and react. You scroll. You consume. You distract. You avoid. And you call it living. But it's not living. It's surviving on impulses. A man without control is always tired, always busy, always stressed, yet never progressing. He's exhausted because his mind is chaotic. He's overwhelmed because everything feels urgent when nothing is prioritized. This is what happens when you don't decide. Life decides for you, and life doesn't care about your feelings. That's the harsh part. The world rewards control and punishes weakness. Quietly, slowly, relentlessly. You don't get punished immediately for being undisciplined. You get punished later, in the form of regret, in the form of missed potential, in the form of watching others pass you by. That's why people stay asleep. The consequences are delayed, and humans are terrible at respecting delayed pain. Immediate comfort always feels more real than future regret. That's why control is rare, because control requires you to act against how you feel right now for a version of you that doesn't exist yet. And most people don't respect their future selves enough to suffer for them. They treat their future like it's disposable, like it'll somehow figure things out. It won't. Your future is built by what you do today when nobody is watching, especially when nobody is watching. Control is forged in private. In the moments where you could quit and nobody would know, in the moments where excuses sound reasonable, that's where the line is drawn. And that's where most people fail. They wait for external pressure, deadlines, fear, consequences. But by the time pressure shows up, it's already too late. Real control is internal pressure. Self-imposed standards that don't bend. You don't need someone yelling at you. You don't need motivation blasting in your ears. You need rules. Non-negotiables. Lines you don't cross no matter how you feel. That's what discipline is. It's deciding once and refusing to renegotiate. The strongest people aren't fighting their mind every day. They've already decided. The decision is made. The path is set. There's no debate. That's freedom. People think discipline is restrictive. It's the opposite. Indecision is prison. Overthinking is prison. Emotional chaos is prison. Discipline removes noise. It simplifies life. You wake up knowing what must be done, and you do it. No drama, no excuses, no self-pity. But you don't get it without pain. You don't get it without forcing your brain to shut up when it wants comfort. The mind is designed to conserve energy. It will always choose the easiest option if you let it. That's biology. Survival mode. But you're not trying to survive. You're trying to dominate. And domination requires overriding instincts. It requires conscious suffering, doing hard things on purpose. Not because you enjoy pain, but because you understand what pain builds. Every time you resist an urge, you gain authority over yourself. Every time you finish what you started, you strengthen trust with yourself. And self-trust is everything. When you trust yourself, you move faster. You hesitate less. You don't need external validation because you know you'll do what you say. Most people don't trust themselves. Deep down, they know they quit. They know they lie to themselves. They know they fold under pressure. That's why confidence feels fake to them. Because it is. Confidence without discipline is delusion. Real confidence comes from evidence. From keeping promises to yourself repeatedly. From showing up when it's hard. From controlling your mind when it wants to escape. That's why discipline creates self-respect. Self-respect changes everything. The way you speak, the way you walk, the way you tolerate disrespect, the way you approach challenges. When you control yourself, you stop begging life for mercy. You take what's yours, calmly, relentlessly, without excuses. This is also why weak habits are dangerous. They don't look dangerous at first. Sleeping in, skipping workouts, junk food, endless scrolling, porn, procrastination. They look harmless, normal even. But habits shape identity. And identity dictates behavior. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your habits. And if your habits are built around comfort, distraction, and avoidance, your life will reflect that. Control starts with habits. Small ones. Boring ones. Repetitive ones. You don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You need to win the next hour. Control the next decision. Make the hard choice consistently. That's it. But consistency is where people collapse. They want intensity. They want transformation fast. They don't want the grind. They don't want the boredom. But boredom is where discipline is built. Anyone can go hard for a week. Very few can stay disciplined when nothing exciting is happening. When results are invisible. When praise is absent. That's where control is proven. That's where men are separated. You don't need to feel powerful to be powerful. You need to act powerful when you feel weak. That's the paradox. Control isn't loud. It's quiet. It's doing the work without posting it. It's saying no without explaining. It's leaving situations that don't serve you. It's choosing silence over reaction. That kind of control makes people uncomfortable because it exposes their lack of it. Controlled men don't complain much. They don't make excuses. They don't blame the world. They adapt. They adjust. They execute. And that scares people because it removes all the comfortable lies. If control is possible, then excuses aren't valid, and most people would rather protect their excuses than face the truth. But you're not here to be most people. You're here because something inside you knows this matters. Because you're tired of being pulled in every direction by impulses. Because you're tired of starting over. Because you're tired of feeling capable but undisciplined. That frustration is good. Use it. Channel it. Let it fuel structure, not emotion. Build systems, routines, standards. Decide who you are and act like it daily. Not perfectly, but consistently. Control isn't about never failing. It's about correcting fast, getting back on track immediately. No spirals, no self-hate, just adjustment. That's maturity. That's strength. And once you start controlling your mind, everything else follows. Your time improves, your body responds, your focus sharpens, opportunities appear because you're ready for them. And most importantly, you stop fearing yourself. You stop wondering if you'll quit, because you know you won't. That certainty is rare, and it's addictive. You waste less time explaining and more time building. You don't need to announce your transformation. It will be obvious. Control sharpens you. It strips away the unnecessary, the fake urgency, the emotional drama, the excuses that once sounded convincing. You become harder to manipulate because you don't react impulsively. You think, you decide, you act. And that calm decisiveness is dangerous in the best way. People who can't control themselves are loud. They overreact. They complain. They burn energy everywhere and get nowhere. Controlled people are precise. They choose their battles. They don't leak energy. They don't chase validation. They don't fold under pressure. They don't need chaos to feel alive. They create order, and order compounds. That's the part nobody tells you. Control compounds. Every disciplined decision makes the next one easier. Every time you do what you said you would do, you reinforce trust with yourself. And once you trust yourself, you stop sabotaging your own progress. You stop quitting halfway. You stop starting over. You stop doubting whether you're capable. You already know. Because you've proven it. Over and over again. This is how domination is built. Not through aggression, not through anger, but through relentless self-governance. You don't need to destroy the world to dominate your life. You need to destroy the version of you that avoids discomfort. The version that runs when things get boring. The version that needs motivation to move. That version has had enough time, enough chances, enough excuses. It's done. From here on out, you move with intention. You wake up with a plan. You train even when you don't feel like it. You work even when nobody is watching. You say no to distractions that steal your future. You don't need perfection. You need control. And control means when you fall, you get back up immediately. No spirals, no self-pity, no drama, just correction. That's strength. That's maturity. That's power. And don't misunderstand this. Control doesn't make you cold. It makes you reliable. It makes you dangerous in a world full of inconsistency. It makes you someone others can depend on, including yourself. When you control your mind, you stop being afraid of hard days because you know you'll handle them. When you control your habits, you stop fearing the future because you're building it daily. And when you control yourself, life stops pushing you around. You become the pressure. So decide, right now, decide who's in charge. You or your impulses. You or your emotions. You or your excuses. Because there is no middle ground. If you don't control your brain will control you. And if your brain controls you, you're finished. But if you take control, truly take it, there is no limit to what you can build. No ceiling on how far you can go. No excuse left to hide behind. This is your line in the sand. Step over it and don't look back.